Now, with all the supermarkets, well, not all the supermarkets, but some of the supermarkets have released their special Christmas prices on veg. A couple of things that I used to do when I had a very large family at home and was absolutely on the bones of my arse. Now, I will stress here they are dependent on a few things. The first one is having somewhere cool. It doesn't need to be a fridge. If you have somewhere like a conservatory or an unheated room, that's good. Having oven space, obviously, or having a freezer that has got space. I don't do this now simply because, as you've guessed, I live in a tiny house. I have a very small fridge and an extremely small freezer, and I don't have so many numbers now. There will only be 4 of us this Christmas, which is slightly weird. I still tend to over-cater. However, what I used to do was 2 things, and it did genuinely save me money. It also gave me a break. I would cook Christmas dinner for just so many people. Wouldn't necessarily be an enormous amount of turkey, but I could make Christmas dinner with 20 different sorts of veg. Now, the reason, and I would start the day before, the reason that I did that was what I would then do is everybody would eat their fill of Christmas dinner, and then I would cover all the dishes and plates, and I would move them out. We had an unheated conservatory, which was cool, and I would just leave the food out there, and for the next 4 or 5 days, if you wanted food, you went out there, there was the food. I would also slice up, take all the meat off the bird if we had a bird, all the meat, cook it off, and then freeze it in gravy, which you can do if you haven't got a cold room. You can take all the meat off, freeze it in gravy. Old takeaway containers are perfect. So you can just reheat it in the gravy. Don't freeze it without gravy, it'll get freezer burn. I did have a chest freezer, nip down to the local co-op on Boxing Day and buy as many joints of meat and as all the stuff that I could that was half price and freeze it so that I had food. And if I timed it well, I could get enough food to last us actually till kind of pretty much March, April. We were all really bored of it, but you can do that. This extra specially cheap Christmas veg, you can cook it. And don't forget, it is not much more expensive to cook lots of veg than it is to cook a little bit of veg. So if you've got the storage space, while you're cooking Christmas dinner, cook as much as you can manage, serve what you need, and either freeze or refrigerate the excess. Like I said, it won't cost you much more in fuel, and it won't cost you much to store it. But like I said, I am aware that is dependent on your storage, so it won't work for everybody. And don't forget, you don't need to buy a chicken or a turkey. If you're a meat eater, this Mum Cooks has shown how to make a beautiful little chicken centrepiece with a sausage meat stuffing for very little money at all, and that would do you nicely. You don't need all of that. What you need is, really, it's a roast with lots of extra veg and stuff. Just knock yourself out on the veg. You'll save yourself a fortune. It's not about what you eat. It's about the fact that you feast together. And don't forget to ask your neighbours. You know, if you've got some elderly neighbours that you think are a bit lonely, take them round to dinner or ask them round to yours. You'll be glad you did.